I've had a theory on how UFOs function as far as being able to go through inanimate objects. And just coming from somebody that does a little bit more research into this, I'd love to kind of hear your input on it. But my kind of idea with it is that I've talked to a lot of people who have had close encounters with ships, and they say that they vibrate to the point where like they burn you if you end up touching them on the outside of the ship. So my kind of theory on it is that they theoretically found a way to be able to vibrate the particles different than in this reality, so that basically it's just all the particles are passing through each other rather than colliding with each other. But coming from somebody that does this kind of research, does that seem like something that might theoretically be
That does
possible
seem
if you
like
break it down to that microscopic level?
a reasonable idea that somehow they get the ship particles to cooperate in such a ways that they actually move out of the way of the matter and such they're passing through, and create gaps. To me, to think about it in the limited human mind capacity that we have, imagining all these particles cooperating in such a way, in some high frequency or whatever, to allow this to happen and become, you know, what's a good word? Translucent or plasma like, but still hold its structure and integrity, is mind boggling. But what you're saying sounds reasonable to me, that it must be something like that, or perhaps even a higher methodology is used, one where let's face it, the universe was God created, and it's all interconnected. So the universe itself, all the particles, all the matter, all the energy is a part of a God consciousness. And perhaps these higher technologies are capable of connecting to that God consciousness in the particles that they want to manipulate and cause them to move out of the way or pass through each other without collision, without resistance. Uh, that I think is even more likely. It may have to do with this higher frequency of vibration. Maybe that's how it's mechanically accomplished. But it's got to be something like that. It's not just hard metal and rock, going through hard rock without something. I don't want to use the word magical, but something happening at the basic atomic and subatomic level that allows these two objects to slip through each other in some way. So what you're saying sounds reasonable to me. It's something like that. Um, I've been working on problems not that difficult, more just trying to get the fundamentals down rather than trying to figure out how to pass through solid matter. Uh, if we could just get to other star systems by building spaceships that can go beyond the speed of light, which I talk about in my book, we're going to meet civilizations that could help with those kind of problems. They can give us some technology, but I would imagine right now the aliens, the ETs that are visiting here and maybe working with our government aren't going to really give us any of the really good stuff, because we're an unstable species. We are emotionally unstable. We can't be trusted. We are corrupt through and through. Our governments are corrupt. Our big corporations are corrupt. There's so much problem there that they know about. Well, we're going to have to get these guys, us, all of us, spiritually uplifted before we can, share in all that technology, because we want to make sure that we don't give them technology that could get them to our planet with nuclear missiles. Uh, that's got to be on their mind. They don't want that, because we could do a lot. We could get a lucky few shots in and destroy whole cities on their planet or worse. So they got to be aware of that, and I'm sure they are. And so may be limiting the technology that they're giving us, and we may be and probably have reverse engineered some of the basic anti-grav technology and so forth, which is, by the way, our nation's top secret. There is nothing more important than keeping anti-gravity technology as well as zero point energy power generating technology secret. I know for sure that the military industrial complex has worked very hard at keeping that technology down as well. Unfortunate, because it's turned out that mankind is mankind's worst enemy. It's not aliens, it's not wild animals, it's not sharks or lions, it's us, on
Yep.
us. We've been killing us more than anybody else in, in the world. And if we could just get our act together and become spiritually higher consciousness, then we're going to progress rapidly because we'll get more contact. We'll be able to have contact on a one-to-one basis, with aliens and so forth, and not all this secrecy and not all this suppression. And apparently the aliens are in on it to some degree too. I mean, staying out of contact because they could land in New York City, Central Park, or what, and they're not. Occasionally, they do some remote location away from everybody, but in general, they're not coming down in all the major cities and saying hi. They're staying away as well for some very good reasons, I'm sure. So we're at the threshold. I think we're getting close. If we could just get our act together, I think we have a great chance at seeing a whole new world, a wondrous world where there's miracles and cures for disease and all these great things that we want to have happen. We just got to get our acts together.
Say assumably too, even with this type of technology, it may not just necessarily be just the consciousness of the human race necessarily lifting, but I feel like there would have to be something semi-physical too, because in order to operate like a anti-gravity machine, um, assumably like the standard human form wouldn't necessarily be able to handle that unless there's another piece of technology that's counteracting it so that maybe stuff inside the ship isn't actually being affected by what's going on outside the ship. But
You're talking about inertial leakage. With
yep.
that, yeah, that's deadly. In my book, I talk about the slip wave. That was slip wave 1.0. Slipwave 2.0 is about to come out in this new paper. In both versions, that problem is solved. Uh, when you're inside of this special field that's created in a certain way, I won't go into any more detail on that until the paper comes out. When you're inside of that field, you're free from inertial drag or resistance. In other words, this field is like in your own realm now. It's like you're sitting perfectly still. Doesn't matter how fast that craft is moving in any direction. You don't feel a thing. It could accelerate from 0 to 10,000 miles an hour in 3 seconds, which would kill you if you were in a jet plane and you did that, or a rocket. But when you're inside of this and it goes from 0 to 10,000 miles per hour, you'd be looking out the window and you'd be getting dizzy, but you would not feel any press back in your chair because that field isolates you from the ether, the space. Ether is another word for space. Um, and so you don't have that inertial drag, and that's what would kill you. So you could operate the ship with joysticks or whatever. Most of these alien craft, I think, use a mental interface because they've got that technology down. They're hundreds of thousands of years ahead of us, and they've learned to read